Rebel Seclotra reporting from the 2025 Cattle Industry Convention here in San Antonio, Texas, and I am joined by Gary Tiller, Director of Commercial Operations for Vence, a subsidiary of Merck Animal Health. There's been a lot of conversation about virtual fencing as an innovation in the beef industry. What can you tell me about Merck's innovation in this space and what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you, Rebel. I'd love to do that. So if you think about virtual fencing in and of itself, if you go back through history, we've used fencing to manage cattle for centuries. First it was stacked rocks, and then it was poles, and then it was barbed wire, then it was electric wire. Virtual fencing is just the next sort of evolution in fencing. And at its simplest and basic form, really what it is if you think about the invisible fence that's sort of ubiquitous for dog owners, where you have a collar, and that collar contains a tone, and in some cases a vibration, and a small sort of electrical pulse. And you train that animal to respond to that stimulus to have them do what you want. And that's literally what Vence does. It is classical conditioning that allows you as the ranch manager to set as the owner to set virtual fences anywhere in your pasture that you would like. And there's a training period to teach those animals about the virtual fencing, and in the end, it just allows you to manage those animals through just sort of their natural behavior. At the end of what'll happen is once they're trained, they'll come up against a virtual fence. They'll get a tone. Most of them will then turn and move away from that tone.
Most definitely. So from a logistical standpoint, talk about the equipment and technology and how user-friendly that process may be.
Yeah, so for Vence, the equipment that we utilize has three different components. One is the collar itself, and within the collar you'll have a GPS unit, a way to communicate to the cloud, your sound and electrical stimulus, and then other electrical components that make it all come together. That's one component. That's the collar. The collar is attached to the cow via two stainless steel chains, which act as a positive and negative lead to apply stimulus. The second piece of it is a base station that we have, which is a backhaul system for data. So that collar will send data of their location and many other things, depending on what you're looking for. It will send those to the base station. That base station will bring those packets together and then upload them to the cloud. So that's the second piece of it. The base station itself is an extremely heavy-duty commercial deal that can be applied in literally any environment. We had 6 of them go through a Category 3 hurricane in Florida just this summer with 0 issues. So that's the second component. It uploads the data to the cloud. Once it's up in the cloud, it'll come back down to a proprietary software on your computer. And that software is basically a Google Maps-based software that then allows you to click and drag and build your virtual fences around the ranch. The great thing about it is that not only do you have that software and you have the tools within the software to be able to do that, but at Vence, we will assign you your personal rancher success support person. And that person will walk you through the setup, will walk you through the basics of creating fences and herds, and sit down and consult with you on what your grazing management plan is, what your goals are, and then together you will build out the plan for that ranch, and that will be for the full year. And then that person is always on call if you need them, and periodically through the year we'll evaluate how we're operating against our grazing management plan and make adjustments to it, based on weather, based on myriad of things that are occurring in the ranch environment.
Certainly. Well, rotational grazing, it has been, well researched and obviously a practice that we are implementing more and more in the beef industry. But what are some other benefits that these producers are seeing when they implement this virtual fence?
Oh, absolutely. The backbone is grazing and managing your rotational grazing. But the incredible thing about this product is that you've created opportunities for conservation, for sustainability, for quality of life. I mean, one of the things that we hear mostly from our ranchers is that we were spending hours and hours gathering cattle, checking fences, moving electric fences. And what Vence now allows you to do is to manage that virtually from your ranch office. And it's not uncommon for folks to tell us, this is the first year I was able to literally go to my son's baseball tournament or my daughter's volleyball tournament and spend the whole weekend paying attention and actually watching and not worrying.
Well, as you mentioned, you have a dedicated staff that can lead producers through the initial installation and then support afterwards. What does it look like for a producer who's interested in implementing this technology?
So if you're interested, we have multiple ways that you can contact us. We have our sales force in the field. We're at all the major shows, and we do a lot of field days. So you can get a hold of your rancher success person at one of the shows. I mean, a salesperson at one of the shows. The second thing is we have a big social media presence, so you can click on any of the social ads that you see from Vence Virtual Fencing, and it'll take you to our website directly to a place where you can log in, put in your information, and with 24 to 48 hours, somebody will be back in touch with you. So that kind of starts the process. The second thing is, and the most important thing is there's a lot of questions that we'll need to ask you about your ranch, your grazing management plan, your goals. In some cases, Vence might not be the product for you, and we're happy to work through that. If your goals aren't suited to our technology, then we'll recommend another technology. But at the end of the day, for the most part, it's really about taking a look at your ranch, taking a look at the size of it, where it's at. We can take a shape file of your ranch, drop it into our proprietary software, exaggerate the topography, overlay cell signals, and really create a network around your ranch that allows you to have consistent communication 24/7 between your collars and your base stations and your software.
Certainly. Well, a new era of ranching is on the horizon. Thank you so much, Gary, for sharing that information. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Rebel. Glad to do it.
Well, once again, that's Gary Tiller sharing about Vence, a virtual fencing product from Merck Animal Health. Coverage of the 2025 Cattle Industry Convention is brought to you by the Nebraska Cattlemen. I'm Rebel Soklocha reporting.